Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another BZPower set review. This time we're taking a look at 70784, Lewa, Master of Jungle. Here before you, you can see the completed set. As he stands, Lewa is in his flying fight mode, whatever you want to call it. He has his big wings, or axe blades, galleys, fin pieces attached to his arms. Swords at the ready. Capable of flight. Overall, Lewa has a cool jungle aesthetic. We no longer have the Mata Green like you would have seen on Lewa back in 2001. Instead we have this bright green color, which is kind of cool. And then we have your Kitangu orange. There is not a lot of green riddled throughout the set, but there is just enough to give it that Lewa look and feel. As you can see, sort of, the original mask are a little bit deeper, darker than the new mask. Although it is sort of hard to see the Lewa look and feel in this Toa set for the reboot. I feel like the other Toa, when you look at them, you can actually see the original mask, whereas Lewa has his own cool look, but it doesn't really capture what he used to look like. It's a good design, it just really steps away from what it used to be, which is good. My biggest gripe with this set has to be the head. Not the design change, but the actual maneuverability. With the armor pieces on his neck area, over his shoulders, there's not much head movement allowed for. So you literally can turn his head a fraction, and then that's it. And as for tilting it up or down, there's no movement there much at all. There's also an issue with his mask being so close to the gearbox that when you do have it on there and your armor is enclosed like it should be, turning the arms grinds against the mask and can lead it to popping off by itself, which is really just a hindrance to playability, nothing really design-wise. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of cool things with this set, such as your big silver swords. And your big axes. Well, if you want to call them axes, because... Oops, see, there with the mask. Actually, let's do this. Take this back off and put on the gold mask. Lewa has his, see, mask falling off. Lewa has his twin battle axes, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. Every time I see these pieces, I just keep thinking of Gali. They are cool, but I would have liked to have seen something a little bit different. Maybe it's just me, but I would have liked a more unique weapon. Granted, Tahu and Kopaka do share the same sword pieces. I think some difference could have been warranted in this case. Beyond a bunch of small minor gripes that are sort of making me somewhat biased for the set, I think it'll definitely be a big hit with older fans and the newer generation that are going to be coming into Bionicle. There's a lot of playability with it. You have the maneuverability. You have a skull spider. We're going to take a look at the pieces in this set. We have two versions of the mask, which we have the gold one and your bright green, which both look really cool. It is a new version for Lewa, technically not called the Miru. The pattern here is a layered look, so it has a really neat biomechanical feel to it, sort of like it would almost retract, which would actually be a really cool concept. And like I said before, it doesn't look exactly like Lewa, which is actually really cool and not cool, but overall I love the design of the mask, and I'm sure the younger generation coming into it will probably like it as well. We have the hero chest plate with this sort of jungle yellow and green design pattern on it. Of course, we have the armor plates in the bright green and the Kitangu orange. And of course the hero chest plate, which every great hero needs to have one. And finally, we have the weapon piece, which is Lewa's axe and flight mechanism, which for purposes you have like the turbines inside of it. Design wise, it fits into the jungle theme, especially for Lewa's flight capability. But again, I would have liked to have seen maybe something more robust or more axe-like, but it fits into the set design, so I mean that's part of the important parts to have. I'm not really going to touch base on things like the silver armor pieces, which we've mentioned and spoke about before. These silver sword bits have been seen in Ninjago sets already and some other set lines as well. And the nifty headpiece is really, I mean, that's been looked at and touched upon many times already. It's a cool piece to have, and it gives you that nifty little popping feature for the mask. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for is Lewa in adrenaline mode, or whatever the kids are calling it nowadays. Basically, he's been powered up with the Protector of Jungle's power bow or Gatling bow. Not really quite sure what to call it. Jungle bow. Beyond the bow, you don't really add much to the set. You do add on the little vine pieces, which, I mean, it's sort of less stellar compared to the other sets, which get extra armor and different bits. It is a cool feature, though, to have the bow, because as I mentioned in the Protector of Jungle review, it's sort of an awkward weapon to hold because it is such a big bow for that set, whereas with Lewa, it's a little bit more proportioned and fits the Toa well. And you have a lot more range of motion with him, sort of, depending on how you're using it, but it's definitely a better fit. I'm not sure what Katniss would say about his bow form. And then one big trade-off on this set, the blades don't have anywhere to be attached to Lewa. So when you go into power mode, these are sort of just gone from the set entirely, because you really can't put them on the hand and still use the bow. One other small gripe I have, is on Lewa. I mentioned before the head, how you don't have much maneuverability with it. The legs have the extenders on them, which you can see here. Occasionally when you're trying to position it, the leg can very easily just snap off because it's being attached with the extension piece. So the entire time while trying to pose him for different scenarios, it can be a little bit cumbersome to try and bend it, because if you don't bend it up here and hold on to it, it's very easy to snap off. Otherwise, Lewa is definitely a really cool set. It's definitely cool to see an older line brought back to life and redone, even if it's being somewhat reformatted for a newer generation. That's not a bad thing, because it gives the entire series a new life form. So while it doesn't exactly look like Lewa, it's actually sort of a good thing. Overall, I would definitely recommend this set. Goes well with the Protector of Jungle, and it's a good fit for that specific niche and style for their element, or whatever we're going to call it. As always, head on over to BZPower for a more in-depth text review along with some photos, especially if you're not apt to watch one of the video reviews here. Check out the latest information for the contest running on right now to win one of the skull spider masks, or just visit the site and see the latest Bionicle news and discussion that is going on right now. Thanks for tuning in.